I bought 200 acres for $2,000, and 48 hours later, a woman in stilettos walked onto my land like she owned the dirt under my boots. She slapped a thick binder against my chest and said, "You owe our homeowners association $15,000 in back fees." Then she smiled like she'd been waiting for me, like the trap had already been set. My name's Ethan Cole, and I'm not some trust fund guy playing cowboy for the weekend. I wrench on diesel engines for a living, long hours, busted knuckles, the kind of work where you learn fast who's bluffing and who's not. When my aunt passed, she left me just enough money to stop talking about a dream and finally do it. I didn't want a mansion. I wanted space, quiet, something I could build with my own hands. So I went to a county tax auction in rural Nebraska and found a listing that looked like a typo. 200.3 acres, mostly pasture and old farmland, starting bid $2,000. No house, no HOA mentioned, just coordinates and parcel numbers. I won it, paid, signed, got the deed. I drove out there the next day with a thermos of coffee and that stupid proud grin you get when life finally gives you one clean win. The land was wide open, wind pushing the tall grass like waves, fence posts leaning like tired old men, a dirt access road cut through the corner. I stood there for a minute and let it hit me. This was mine. Then click, 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 those shoes behind me. I turned and saw her coming across the field like she was crossing marble, not mud. Blonde hair tied in a bun, sunglasses big enough to hide a crime blazer crisp like she didn't believe in weather. She held a binder hugged to her chest like scripture. "Excuse me," she said, not like a question. "I'm Tiffany Caldwell, president of Redwood Ridge Homeowners Association." I looked around. "Where's Redwood Ridge?" She angled her chin toward the east. Way off you could see one oversized house with a manicured lawn, the kind that looks expensive just from the way the grass is cut. Beyond that, a few more rooftops, a little cluster. That was it. Tiffany flipped open the binder and started turning pages fast, like she already knew what she was going to find. "This parcel is subject to HOA governance. The previous owner was in violation for years, and you've inherited the obligations." I actually laughed once because it sounded ridiculous. "Ma'am, I bought farmland at a county auction. The deed doesn't say anything about an HOA." She tapped a page with a long acrylic nail. "It says it right here. Back fees, architectural violations, unauthorized land use, and fines. $15,000, due immediately." I stared at the numbers. Architectural violations. I spread my arms. On what? The grass. Tiffany didn't blink. "Don't be cute. If you want to continue using this land without enforcement actions, you'll comply." "Enforcement actions." I repeated slow, like tasting something rotten. She leaned in just a little. "We can file a lien. We can notify the county. We can make sure you're tied up so long you'll beg us to take it off your hands. Redwood Ridge protects property values." There it was, not even subtle, a threat with a business card. I asked, "Do you have a survey plat map? Anything recorded that shows my parcel inside your boundary?" Tiffany slid her sunglasses down half an inch. "You can do your own research. I'm informing you as a courtesy, because we try to be neighborly." Then she closed the binder like a judge slamming a gavel, turned on her heel, and walked away across my land like she was leaving a stage. I stood there in the wind, holding my deed in one hand and her printed invoices in the other, and for a second my chest felt tight because it wasn't fear exactly. It was the sensation of realizing someone just walked up and tried to rewrite reality. That night my phone started lighting up. Email after email. Notice of violation. Final demand. Administrative processing fee. The total climbed like it was on a timer. 15,000 became 16,200, then 18, then monthly dues at $750, like I'd just subscribed to a problem I didn't order. One letter came, certified, stamped, like it came from a law firm. The return address was a property management office. When I looked it up, it was a UPS store mailbox in the next town over. I wasn't dealing with a neighborhood committee. I was dealing with professionals. The next morning, I drove straight to the county courthouse because out here the courthouse is where truth lives on paper in filing cabinets under fluorescent lights that never lie. I found the records window, and behind it was a woman with reading glasses on a chain and the tired calm of someone who's seen every kind of nonsense. Her nameplate said Martha Klein. I slid my deed under the glass. I need to confirm something. A woman says my land is under an HOA. Martha didn't even look surprised. She took the deed, scanned it, then pulled up the parcel on her computer, clicked twice, leaned back. "Let me guess," she said. "Redwood Ridge." My eyebrows went up. You know them. Martha sighed like a kettle losing steam. "You're the fourth person this month who's come in here with a Caldwell story." That hit harder than Tiffany's binder, not because I felt stupid, but because I realized this wasn't random. It was a routine. Martha printed the parcel history, old surveys, tax maps, chain of title back to the 60s. "Your land's always been agricultural," she said. "No HOA overlay, no covenants recorded on your parcel." I asked, "So how are they sending me fines?" Martha lifted a folder and tapped it with one finger. "Because they keep trying to record creative paperwork." She pulled out a photocopy and slid it across the counter. It was a consent form that claimed I agreed to join Redwood Ridge Homeowners Association. My name was typed. My signature was not my signature. It looked like a kid had forged it in the back of a school bus. My stomach dropped, but not into panic, into focus. Martha lowered her voice. "They brought that in last week, wanted it filed as an addendum. I refused. Told them they'd need proper documentation and a notarized signature that matches identification." I stared at it. "So they're forging owners?" Martha nodded once. "And then they pressure people until someone pays just to make it stop." I walked out to my truck and sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, staring at the courthouse doors like they might open and swallow me. This is the part nobody talks about. The part where you realize you can be right and still get crushed by paperwork time and harassment. I had a job, bills, a life. I couldn't spend every day sprinting between my land and a courthouse window. For a couple minutes I did the math in my head. Money, stress, hours, risk, and I seriously considered flipping the parcel, taking a small loss and walking away before these people stapled my name to a nightmare. Then I looked down at the photocopy Martha had given me, that fake signature, that fake consent, and something in me hardened. Because it wasn't just about land anymore, it was about someone trying to bully me into signing away reality. So I went back out there and did what I know how to do. I started building a file. I printed every email. I saved every voicemail. I photographed every letter with a timestamp. I documented the UPS mailbox address. I pulled Redwood Ridge's actual HOA filings, 12 houses, a tiny boundary, nowhere near my parcel. I logged every time a Caldwell car rolled down my access road. And they did. They rolled down it slow like sharks. One afternoon, a black Tesla crawled along my fence line. The driver window was down. A guy in a polo, Blake Caldwell, I later learned, held his phone up and filmed my no trespassing signs like I'd offended him by existing. I stepped out, kept my voice level. "You're on private property. Turn around." He smiled without warmth. "Just documenting. For the association." I pointed at the sign. "Document this leave." He backed up slow, never breaking eye contact. The kind of move that's supposed to make you feel small. That evening, Tiffany showed up again, this time with 2 men in matching khaki pants carrying clipboards like they were inspectors. She didn't walk. She marched. "We're conducting a compliance review," she announced. "You've erected unauthorized signage and you're obstructing community access." "Community access," I said. "To my pasture." One of the khaki guys lifted a laminated badge that looked off. Too shiny, too generic. I didn't argue. I just turned my phone sideways. "State your full names for the camera." Tiffany's smile twitched. "You can't record us." I kept the phone steady. "This is my land. I can record anybody trespassing." The khaki guys shifted their feet. Tiffany snapped, "Ethan, you're making this worse." I said, "No, I'm making it documented." They left, and 10 minutes later I got an email titled Final Notice, like a toddler wrote it. Same threats, bigger numbers. That's when I called the county sheriff. Deputy Harris showed up in a dusty cruiser, boot-scuffed body cam already rolling. He listened to me, watched the clips, read the letters, and when I showed him the UPS mailbox, his jaw tightened. "You're not the first," he said, "but you might be the first with a full trail." He gave me a card. "Call this attorney, Lauren Pierce. She handles land rights and fraud cases. She doesn't scare easy." Lauren met me the next day in a small office that smelled like coffee and printer toner. She didn't waste time on sympathy or speeches. She laid the situation out like a mechanic diagnosing an engine. "They're trying to manufacture authority," she said. They fake paperwork, pressure you into paying, and if you fold, they call it compliance. That's not an HOA. That's a racket wearing an HOA costume. Lauren helped me tighten the case: affidavits, certified copies from the courthouse, an official boundary map, chain of title documents, evidence of attempted fraudulent recording. Then she asked one question that changed the temperature in the room. Have they asked you for money through email or phone calls? Any wire transfers? Any threats tied to payment? I nodded. Multiple. Lauren leaned back. That's not just civil. That's criminal. Mail, wire, forgery, conspiracy. And if they've done this to others, someone's going to care. We didn't play hero, we played smart. Lauren coordinated with Deputy Harris. They looped in investigators who knew exactly what patterns to look for. Meanwhile, I kept acting like a stressed landowner, the kind Tiffany expected to break. And Tiffany took the bait. 2 days later, she called me, actual phone call, voice sweet like poison. Ethan, we can resolve this. Quietly. I said, how? She lowered her tone. We have a compliance officer coming out. If you cooperate, we can reduce the back fees, but it requires a good faith payment today. I asked how much. $8,000, she said, like she was offering a discount at a department store. I let silence hang. And where do I send it? She gave me an account. She told me not to involve outsiders. She said, keep this neighborly. Then she said something that made my skin go cold. And don't bother running back to the courthouse. Those clerks don't understand private governance. That's the sentence that told me she believed she was untouchable. The next morning, I set up cameras, visible ones and ones she wouldn't notice. I posted a new sign at the entrance. County inspection today, do not interfere. Lauren's idea, simple, legal, a spark in a dry field. Around noon, Tiffany arrived with Blake and those same khaki clipboard guys. They parked right across my access road like they were blocking a driveway in suburbia. I watched from a distance, heart steady, hands not shaking. Because when you've spent weeks being pushed around, the moment you finally stop moving feels oddly calm. A county vehicle approached, slow official. Tiffany stepped forward, arms out like a crossing guard. You can't go in, she called out. This property is under HOA jurisdiction. You need our approval. The driver got out, calm, plain clothes, not flashy. Tiffany didn't know what she was looking at. She waved her binder. We have outstanding violations and a pending lien process. We're in active enforcement. The man said, ma'am, step aside. Tiffany's voice sharpened. Ethan, tell them you'll comply. We discussed the payment. And that's when she did it. Right there in the open. She pulled an envelope from her purse and held it out toward the driver like she was handing over a tip. $8,000, she said, quiet but clear. Just mark it as non-compliant. We'll handle the rest. The air went still. The man didn't touch the envelope. He just looked at her and said, ma'am, thank you. Then he took one step back and raised his hand. And it was like the ground itself shifted. 2 vehicles rolled in fast. One sheriff, one unmarked. Doors opened. Voices snapped commands. Deputy Harris moved in like a metronome, controlled and certain. Tiffany's face drained white. Blake took one step backward, then another, like he was trying to reverse out of reality. An agent read Tiffany, her charges, words that sounded heavy even in the wind. Wire fraud, mail fraud, forgery, conspiracy, attempted bribery. Tiffany's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her binder slipped from her hand and hit the dirt with a soft, pathetic thud. Blake turned, tried to bolt 2 steps, and Deputy Harris caught him, twisted his arm, brought him down. The sound of cuffs locking was sharp, final, the kind of click you don't forget. Tiffany whispered, "This is a misunderstanding." The agent said, "No, ma'am, this is a pattern." I stood there on my own land, watching the people who tried to buy my fear get loaded into cars, and I didn't cheer, I didn't smile, I just breathed. Because the only thing louder than the cuffs was the silence after weeks of harassment. And as the cruiser door shut, I looked at the grass, the fence posts, the open sky, my sky, and I thought one simple thing: paper doesn't protect you, documentation does.